So good afternoon. My name is Melanie Gruenwald. I'm the Executive Director at Kabbalah Experience. We're based here in Denver, Colorado. And thanks to my Jewish learning and Zoom and this past year with the pandemic, we've really been able to reach a national network of folks, international, thanks to Corrine. So it's lovely to have you here. And I would love to just take a couple of minutes and go around and introduce ourselves. So Tommy, why don't you start us off? I'm going to change.
Can you hear me now or no?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm Tommy, and I started Kabbalah this year. Really took classes. I like it very much. I'm from Denver area, Aurora, and I love Judaism. So it's a nice way to spend my time or enrich myself as well. Thanks, Melanie.
Thank you. Daphne? Daphne?
Hey, I'm Daphne. I've never explored this and always wanted to. I don't know why I didn't. And I've gotten a lot more in touch with my Judaism throughout the pandemic. And I'm like, I wanted to add this to that and add some dimension and learn some stuff. So as I'm ever evolving, I thought this might help.
Great. Good to see you again. Raquel, would you introduce yourself, please? You're muted. There you go.
I'm Raquel Granning. I took Kabbalah classes for 9 years in Baltimore. And when Tammy told me about your Kabbalah classes, I said, yeah, I want to come. And here I am.
Excellent. Thanks. B. Rod Gerald, what is your first name? Welcome. Introduce yourself, please.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Brenda. I'm from Miami. This is the first time that I'm here with you. I would like to enjoy with all of you and learn.
Great.
About
Brenda, it's nice
Yes.
to have you here. Thank you.
you as well.
Susan, would you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Susan. This is my first experience with Kabbalah. I'm looking forward to it.
Great. It's lovely to have you here.
Thank you.
Corrine, welcome back. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, good morning and Shabbat Shalom, everybody. And Melanie, thank you for having me on board. It's very enriching and I really enjoy the journey of Kabbalah. Thank you.
Welcome. Louise, would you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Louise Oram. I'm from St. Petersburg, Florida, originally from Boston. I did actually take a course in Kabbalah with a rabbi from New York through Facebook. It was really fascinating. Was it Rabbi Ben Newman?
Okay, great.
Yeah, a great course. And you can go on YouTube and most of it's still there. And also I took Maya courses through Hebrew College, you know, out of Newton. They had a satellite synagogue I went to. And so one of the professors kind of introduced us to a little bit of Kabbalah. So it's been a little bit here, a little bit there. And then I'm also on Shabbat. I read a little part of Daniel Matt's Zohar and also the Bahar, a little teeny bit of that. And it's just fascinating. And what I was told, it's just a way of seeing, and it really gives a great perspective.
Great.
On
Thank you.
what I see.
Welcome back. It's great to have you here. Joan, would you like to unmute and introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Joan from Marblehead, Massachusetts, and I've studied a lot of Kabbalah on my own, but I really appreciate this class so much. It's very enriching and fortifying, and thank you for everyone who being in. I like the way Louise said it. It's a way of seeing.
Yeah,
so I like that a lot.
Great, thank you, and it's good to see you. Welcome back. Susan, would you introduce yourself today?
Sure. Hi, I'm Susan Dahl, and I've been attending for about 3 years at the Kabbalah Experience, different courses, and of course on Zoom the past year. And I liked what Louise said also about a different way of seeing. I was not raised Jewish, and so I find the whole Old Testament take and a very different way of looking at it from the pediatric version of the Bible that I was raised with. So I appreciate it a lot.
Nice. Thank you. Good to see you. And last but not least, we lost Lisanne. I was going to invite her. Okay, hopefully she'll come back. Great. Well, welcome. For those of you that have studied Kabbalah with us before, what is it that we say Kabbalah is a study of when we talk about Kabbalah?
Holding opposites.
Holding opposites, yeah. And it's a study of parallels, right? The parallels between our seen and unseen reality, our spiritual and our physical reality. How does the finite hold the infinite? How does the infinite hold the finite? And so on. And again, this idea of Kabbalah being a new way of seeing, I think we're all in different places on our journey. But what we're looking to do is create a way to see more, right? We always say there's more to life than what meets the eye. Sometimes that's in numerology. Sometimes that's looking at coincidences and understanding them as meant to be's. How do we understand miracles and so on? So I thought we might spend some time today thinking about how do we see miracles, right? What is a miracle and how do we relate to miracles? So just off the top of your head, what are some miracles that you see or that you acknowledge in your day-to-day life or in your lifetime? It doesn't have to be day-to-day. Daphne?
I rear monarch caterpillars in butterflies, and I am forever astonished by how they know to do what they do, to go through the phases. One of the most interesting things for me to watch is to watch the final molt from the caterpillar into the chrysalis. And it's the most physically exhausting stage of it. And they work so hard to change, and it's just amazing. And then when the butterfly comes out, not like 2 weeks later, every single time I'm amazed. I'm like, this is a miracle. How does this happen? It's astonishing. It's absolutely astonishing. That's where I see it.
It is amazing. Do you ever go to the monarch groves like in Santa Barbara? Have you been there? It's amazing.
I'm about to start volunteering at a local butterfly house.
Oh, that's so cool. Very nice. For the person who just joined on the iPhone, would you introduce yourself? Your name isn't showing there.
Okay, my name is Annette, and I am in Florida.
Great, thank you.
Where are you?
We're in Denver, Colorado, but we have folks here from the island of Marusha all the way to Marblehead, Massachusetts, and Denver, and a lot of Florida today, and California.
California.
I'm sorry?
I'm asking if you're all having coffee.
I'm not. I actually meant to refill my water bottle, but I didn't get to it yet. I see a few water bottles there. In Colorado, we talk a lot about staying hydrated. Great. Well, welcome. And if you want to take your camera off so we could see your face, that would be lovely too. But whatever you're comfortable with is fine. All right. What else do you guys see as miracles? Daphne just told us about caterpillars transforming into butterflies.
For me, this is Brenda, is just to open my eyes in the morning and have another date, another opportunity to growing up, to learn, to take a breath, to breathe. That is a miracle for me.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. What else? My irises, the iris flowers are opening up. in Denver, there's like tulips, and then a couple weeks later, the irises start to bloom. So that's been pretty amazing to me. We've been in our house. This is just my second spring there, and I don't really know what to expect when things are blooming. So that's been pretty nice to see things happening in the yard that I didn't plant. Tommy.
A few years ago, I went to a birds sanctuary. I don't know how you call it exactly, in Sweden. And they show the migration all the way from the north to Africa, and how they follow them all the way and then follow them back. And for me, it's unbelievable that this little creature flies all the way from Sweden to Africa and back and another way, and they come to the same place.
Right, and they don't even have Google Maps.
They didn't have, and no, they don't. And they do it for generation and generation. So when I stood there and looked at that, it's a beautiful place there to see how they are recording it all. You know, I was like, I don't know if I could do it
Right.
as a human being, right? So
amazing.
that's stuck in my mind. And I always say, having birth, the child that being born is always for me a miracle.
Yeah.
But the other one is most just sitting in I never forgot it, right? Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What about you, Kareem? What's coming up for you?
You spoke of flowers. I'm a great lover of nature and flowers. And every evening or every morning, when I water the garden and see the sunrise or the sunset and see nature being renewed, life being renewed, plants and flowers coming out. I've got beautiful hibiscus and some tropical flowers. I see that as a perpetual miracle of recreation. And I make a parallel with our lives. We are kind of recreated every second. Every minute we're different from the minute before. And life is an ongoing creation.
Thank you.
Wow. I have a kitten, and I named her Whiner because she is, out of 7 kittens, she's the only one that survived, because 2 got stuck, and the rest of them died. Well, when I was born, I kind of had the same problem. My mother had a hard time delivering me, and she was in labor 72 hours. She did almost die, and Dr. Weiner was the one that saved my life. Both my mother's in my life. So now that I have Weiner, that's her name, because she's my miracle. When I look at her, I see the miracle that happened for both of us.
Very nice.
So that's my miracle.
Thank you. I thought you were going to say that she whines.
No.
No.
She does that too, but she's a kitten, so of course. But,
right.
Yeah.
That's sweet. Thank you. What about you, Joan? What do you see as a miracle?
Well, I would agree with all of those things. I especially like the small miracles of just having, waking up every day. But I think I mentioned it to you about my near-death experience, but it's also other things that you see where your people come through. Like we were talking about it this week, where we had a lot more going on with our family, and I was thinking about how you have to put out that effort to meet God halfway to sort of have that miracle happen. So even the flowers and the animals are all sort of, they're doing their part, and then God is bringing them the rest of the way, it feels like. And that's what it feels like is happening when you see things that just aren't possible. like when I was in my accident, and other people I've seen who survived these things, and you just say, how is that even possible? But it's just a miracle. And and the flowers are giving us all these messages. All the flowers are blooming much bigger and more prolific this year. It's sort of saying it's okay, and the nature's still doing its beautiful miracles on its own, no matter what happens with us. It's really nice.
Nice. Thank you. And Ginny, hi. Welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you too.
So we're talking about miracles. So we just ran through, or we just shared, what are some miracles that we see? So we talked about caterpillars becoming butterflies, opening my eyes, taking a breath in the morning, irises blooming, migration of birds, sunrise, sunset, flowers, rebirth, childbirth, that were recreated every second. Weiner the cat, a cat that could have died in childbirth but was saved in cat birth. The small miracles of our everyday lives, and looking at things and saying, how is it possible, right? Like, how goodly are your works? How awesome, right? Hi, puppy. What's right? That sense of awe, of realizing that we're just this and this.
What is this?
We're just small in the huge world. So then what is it about these things that makes us see them as miracles? What are the underlying characteristics of these noticings? Like something, oh, go ahead, Louise.
So I think sometimes it's timing.
Okay, so say more about that.
Like when I was a year and a half, I had less than 10% eyesight, but because of when I was born, there were glasses, and now I have good eyesight. You know, so many things that have happened in my life. It was at that time that made the difference, because either things were there or whatever. And I think so much God is in so much control of time that we see it in everything we do. Sometimes we'll meet a person, and if it had been a half an hour difference, we wouldn't have met that person. That person has made a profound difference in our lives.
Yeah.
So like I said, for me, it's time.
Yeah. I mean, we often talk about how many miracles it takes, like billions of miracles it takes for anything to happen. Right. My husband is a rabbi, and when he's under the wedding canopy with a couple, right, they're getting married, he says, think about the billions of miracles it took for us to show up at this place. Right. It's not just for the partners to meet each other, but oh, look, there's the lovebirds. It's not just the partners to meet each other, but it's also for their parents to meet each other and their parents to meet each other, and so on, right? That, like, if my grandfather hadn't met my grandmother at that exact moment that he did, I never would have been. So there's just all these miracles for us to have a confluence, right? A confluence of miracles for anything to happen, right? There's a confluence of miracles for the 16 of us to be on screen together at this moment, not just because of technology, but also because of time and space and us trying to transcend it. Great. What else?
Something I was going to say is like the things like with the butterflies, the flowers, these things happen typically naturally with little to no human intervention. They keep going all around us.
Right.
And so do we keep growing and aging.
Right. Yeah. And Corrine put here the extraordinary happening in the ordinary of our life, right? The unreal coming to reality. So when we think about that flower blooming or the migration of birds, right? Or the sunrise and the sunset, right? There's stuff that we assume are going to happen every day. But if we take the moment to notice them and acknowledge them, then they feel more like miracles to us. But what is it about human beings that, hi, it's good to see you. What is it about human beings that we don't always notice these miracles that come to us?
That what? That we don't.
That we don't always pay attention. Why don't we always pay attention to the miracles that are showing up for us?
The miracles are always the things that we have. Our mind is so busy in another stuff that we are not able to see it.
Right. Sometimes we're so busy we don't take the time to see it.
Yep.
Yeah. What else?
I think we take many things for granted.
Yeah.
So we things that are really can be miracle. We just, that's how it's supposed to be, but it's not.
Right. When something goes wrong, we tend to notice it a little bit more, right? We think about birth and flowers and our GI systems working and our cardiovascular systems working. And then all of a sudden there's a problem. And that's when we realize what a miracle it is when it actually works.
it's remind me a song in Hebrew that it says, you might know it, it's called Todah.
Okay.
I don't know if I mentioned it before. I love this song. I taught it for a long time. And it just says, thank you for being able to see. Thank you for the little things we don't see, just having a friend or two. So the whole song is just thanking for things that we think we should take for granted. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And some of you went through traumas in your life in this group that you know it's not always we can take for granted. And I was raising, my grandson was on a feeding tube and couldn't eat. And we take it for granted that we'll sit at the table and eat. So those are there are miracles that we can still do all those things, but as I say, we take it for granted.
Yeah.
When it's vanishing from our eyes or is being taken from our life, we realize, oh man, thank you for doing it. Thank you for being able to do it even. So.
Yeah, so it's an interesting connection you're drawing too between gratitude and miracles. Right? We don't always stop to notice. We don't always stop to smell the flowers. Right. But the more
every morning I'm grateful I can walk, because there were 4 years I couldn't. I think about it every day.
Wow. Yeah. Right. And what is it? The more that we experience gratitude, the more we notice the miracles around us. So how do you practice gratitude and noticing?
Okay. Oh, whoop. Melanie, we have one person here that doesn't talk the whole time, and I don't know if she introduced herself or I wasn't aware of it. Susan Prairie, what's your?
Okay. Pereira.
Did you not introduce yourself? I'm sorry, Susan.
Oh, I did. I introduced
you did. That's why I said I might have missed it. That's what I'm saying. I don't think it's you. I missed it. Yeah. But I wasn't sure, so I want to be sure.
And there were a couple of people that joined a little late, like Ginny and Celia and Lisanne.
Yeah.
And Sherry Brennan. So welcome. We're talking about miracles and gratitude today. It's great to have you here. And just feel free to unmute or raise your hand whenever you want to jump in. Joan.
I was thinking about what everyone is saying, and I think it's, well, I think I mentioned it when I was in the one of the previous classes about how I felt this bigger picture when I was having my near-death experience, and I felt like that's what it is. It's like there's just all this stuff going on that we don't see, and that it's the Kabbalah is so beautiful about the seeing. When you said the first class I went to, when you said about it's about being in the moment, I love that, because that's about you're appreciating and you're noticing all at the same moment. And I just wanted to share a quick story about, I went to a lecture at the Science Museum, and there was this guy who had like 5 degrees from MIT before he was 18. And he said, they're studying all the energy in the universe, all these areas, and they couldn't seem to figure out how it all worked. And the only answer they could come up with after all these years is God. And he was like, and scientists don't believe in God, but here we are. And it's really that. It's like that there's, it's the beauty of it all. Anyhow, I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, there's actually a line in one of our curricula that scientists are actually more comfortable with the unknown than people of faith. Because sometimes we can't say, I don't know, right? Like it's harder to say that we don't know, that we're not sure. Because that's not necessarily how we were taught. Karine, it's so nice to see your face on the screen. Welcome.
I say, although I'm in bed.
You're in bed? I can't even tell. It's midnight where you are. That's understandable.
Yes.
Great, thank you. So what else, what other ways can we practice gratitude? I feel like we're in this transitional moment in time. It's for my kids, it's the end of the school year. They finish school tomorrow, and they'll be going off to summer camp soon. We're in this transitional time of masks and vaccines, and being able to expose ourselves and be around people again without masks on, which is kind of, something that we would took for granted a year and a half ago. So how do we take a moment? How do we take a moment to mark the moment? My husband actually often talks about the idea that there are different kind of rituals. There are some that are transformational and there are some that are transitional. So like a transitional ritual might be a graduation, right? Something that just marks a moment in time. A transformational ritual might be a wedding, right? Or a conversion, or choosing a new name, accepting a faith, right? Whether it's Judaism or Christianity, just being in a place where you accept a faith or a belief system. And I feel like this moment in time for all of us is a transitional time, right? That we're transitioning the seasons, right? They're going to happen whether or not we mark it with the ceremony. And also, right, this removal of masks is a significant moment in our time. We all live in different communities of literally around the world. But I think we've all experienced COVID in very similar ways. There is a lot of trauma around it. There's a lot of limiting that we've had to experience, separation from people that we love, that we want to spend time with. I've made friends this year that I've never met in person, right? It's kind of amazing, especially with our Zoom classes. And it's so magical when we could actually connect in person. Right, so Sherry just said, transitions juxtapose excitement and loss, right? Joy and grief intertwined, right? And that's something that Susan said from the beginning, that we're always holding opposites, right? That's joy and grief, the eagerness and also the reticence of wanting to jump forward and step ahead. I've actually found a beautiful ceremony online, and I'll call it up and I'll share it. I posted about it on our Facebook page today, about an unmasking ceremony. Maybe we could share that together. I just need a second. What else has it meant to you to get vaccinated, or to be removing your masks, or to be able to be in spaces where you don't have to wear a mask anymore? How is that feeling for you?
It's taken away my anger. Before, I used to be angry when I would be places and I would see people walking around without a mask and nobody was vaccinated yet. And I felt like they were just sort of thumbing their nose at the rest of us and not trying to protect themselves and other people who want to be vaccinated unless they have some kind of autoimmune disease or whatever and can't be vaccinated. Most of the people who want to are, and we're free to go without a mask because we aren't going to be terribly, terribly sick. And now that anger at those other people is gone, because it's kind of like, hey, your choice. You're the one putting yourself at risk. You're no longer putting me or my loved ones at risk, and I can let that go. So that's a kind of a different kind of freedom, maybe not a very nice one to admit, but yeah, I've kind of let go of that anger that I felt before and figure, well, it's up to you.
Right. It's like people who ride bikes and motorcycles without helmets. It's like this element of personal responsibility. And there is this place of, of if people are choosing not to get vaccinated, they're still putting other people at risk, right? It's about building that herd immunity. But right, this mask, right? And, it's also interesting that the masks that we wear, right? The masks that we choose all say different things about us, right? Sometimes it has a logo on it and says, be kind, right? Sometimes people have them to match their outfits. I saw like prom dresses with matching masks, or homecoming dresses. Right, so our masks are also saying something about us. But how much more so when we're able to actually remove our physical mask and show our show our faces, show our are real masks. You know, I was thinking about the elementary school today, that some of the teachers have never seen their kids' faces this whole year, right? They don't know what they look like. They wouldn't recognize them in the hall. So I found this blessing online. I feel like it's fairly, I don't know what the word is, ecumenical, right? It's based in humanity, you know, saying here, may we be blessed, all of us together as one, with the light of your face, the spirit of the world. You've given us the light of our own faces, endless light that will not be contained, and Torah of life, of love and kindness, charity, blessing, mercy, and peace. Blessed are you, spirit of the world, who unmasks the world that is around us and the world that is within us. Right, so what does it mean to unmask the world that is around us and the world that is within us? And I'll put the copy in our chat here. What does it mean to unmask the world around us? Let's start there.
Well, in part, it means to see and to see it for what it is. I find the mask and the figurative mask a real testimony to vulnerability and feeling safe. And as we unmask and see more clearly, it's an opening of being genuine and authentic that we've all, for the last year or so, and maybe longer, have been not necessarily hiding, but protected or shadowed from that. And it's a reawakening of that authenticity of the world around us and how we reflect and participate in it.
That's a beautiful way to look at it, right? And to frame it. And as Brenda said also, to be transparent, right? Our masks protect us, but also shadow us, right? They add a layer to our physical dimension. And what does it mean when our world starts to become unmasks, right? We could smile at people again in public. And what does it mean to unmask the world that's within us? How do we experience that after a year on Zoom and video conference?
I actually kind of like the idea that I mean, I like the Zooming in a way because even though it's wonderful because you get to meet people from all over and experience things you wouldn't, but also because I find that even people I know well that we've been doing Zooms for temple and things like that and services, you never really get to see their look in someone's eyes when they're thinking about something beautiful. And it's really cool. It's like, getting a much deeper experience of everything.
Yeah.
And also the religious part of it too. I think I have to mention it, but it's like I always feel like we've had to imbibe the holidays. Like they gave us all shofars and we had to do our own thing on the holidays, and it's really kind of cool, and doing it together in this very intimate setting, looking at each other's eyes. I really like it in a way. So it's nice that we.
Right. There's also a sense of personal responsibility in community. Of what's my role, right? What's my connection? How do I take ownership? Corinne?
I've always heard that psychologically we all wear masks, but wearing a mask is like exposing our vulnerability, our true self. But sometimes I feel more comfortable in my personal and my emotional life masking myself, because the sense of vulnerability is very uncomfortable for me. So I try always to withdraw from people. So for me, I'm perpetually in a mask world. I only reveal myself to people I'm really close to and I feel comfortable. That's my comfort zone, kind of.
Yeah. Right. And how has COVID been in your community?
Wow, here there is a big outcry because the government is imposing vaccination to people. Actually, I'm not vaccinated. I've got a winter flu jab, but got so many allergies that I can't possibly get vaccinated, because my cousin had the vaccine and she died. She was in London and she died 6 days after. So I'm very skeptical. But the way the government is kind of imposing it to each and every person with a threat is not something that is really acceptable here. We don't really live in a country where you are free of your choice. It's imposed upon you, right? And that's what I don't like about the thing about global vaccination. I just think it should be something about, yes, you need to protect others, but it's got to be a personal choice. Some people simply can't be vaccinated because they've got inherent health issues, and that's not taken on board.
Yeah, that's good points. Thank you.
Yes.
Right. And in Kabbalah, we talk a lot about our masks, right? We always ask the question, are you wearing your mask or is your mask wearing you? Right. What do you think is the difference between those two?
I noticed that people wearing the mask are more real with each other when you have a conversation, because somebody said that you have connection with your eyes and you can feel the other person better than when we are without a mask. I don't know, that's I observe, is my point of view.
It's like when you're walking with somebody and it's easier to have a tough conversation because you don't have to be face to face.
No, I mean, I'm talking about when you use the mask, the communication with other is more like intense, more real than you are without the mask. I don't know, that's what I feel like.
It's interesting. How have other people experienced that? Susan? Susan P., did you have something?
I am having difficulty since we are not required to wear masks anymore. I'm extremely introverted. So for me, the mask served a dual purpose. I was actually more comfortable wearing the mask than without it. So I'm getting used to a new reality now, which is difficult.
Yeah. Right. And for those of us that are anxious or you really prefer to be alone, right, the masks and the quarantine were really quite comfortable.
Yes.
And now like reemerging and having to practice again. And to me, it's kind of like breaking the seal, right? That you just have to get comfortable.
Right.
It's challenging. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Joan, and then I'll come back to you, Daphne.
Well, I've just been going through this. In fact, this week, yesterday, I realized I had this like eureka, because we had so many things going on that were sad and stuff, that it just hit me that I spent my whole life wearing this mask of taking care of everybody. It was always my thing that I just did. And that it got in the way of me accepting help. And I think that, and people believed the mask. They were like, oh, she doesn't need any help. And so it was really interesting, because all of a sudden I went, I'm not wearing this anymore, and so I realized that I had to stop. I felt like I'd taken on a whole train of like cars of everybody's needs and stuff. And then I just felt like, I think that we also believe other people's masks when sometimes other people are hurt and they wear a mask that they don't need help, or they're angry or something like that, but they're really sad. And I think that it's hard to, we have to see past other people's masks as well.
Thank you. Sorry. So, right. And sometimes we have to acknowledge like which are the masks, when what's comfortable and what's uncomfortable, and a mask that might have been comfortable at one time may not be comfortable now. Right. So for those of you that have studied the Sphirot, the tree of life, and do I have a logo here? Sure I do. Oh, I can actually show you our sculpture today. Okay, I'm in the office. All right, this is our logo for Kabbalah Experience. So if you look at, well, you can't even see here. Let me get it on the screen. We talk about our masks as falling in the sphera of dot, of knowledge, of understanding. And when we're talking about it in Kabbalah, at Kabbalah Experience, we often talk about it in the realm of what masks are we wearing, right? There are masks that we're born with, right? Our skin, our body type, our abilities, our disabilities, our differences, our gender. And sometimes we identify with our masks, right? And sometimes we don't, right? If you think about people who are non-binary or transgendered, sometimes you say, I might have been born into a girl body, but I don't identify as a girl. I identify as a he or a they. But our body becomes a mask. And how could our mask be more aligned with who we are, right? Or I might have been born a blonde, but I prefer to be a brunette, right? Or vice versa, right? I might have been born a brunette, but I prefer to be a blonde. So those are masks that we're born with. Lisanne, it's so nice to see your face. Right, and then there are the masks that we choose, right? Sometimes it's religion, sometimes it's our name. Sometimes it's a profession. Sometimes it's a role that we play, right? As a caregiver, or there we go, the caregiver, or the victim, or the problem solver, or the athlete, or the musician, right? The perfectionist, the student, the creative, right? They're all the masks that we choose and we kind of take on throughout our lives. So that's, our masks hang out in that realm of dot. Are you guys able to see that chart?
Mm-hmm.
And what we teach in our class in our second semester is, an awareness of our masks. Because if we have an awareness of our masks, then we're able to control our masks in the sense of, oh, everybody thinks I'm always capable and I have to be the caregiver, but darn it, who's going to take care of me? Right? Or I'm tired of taking care of everybody else. I'm exhausted and I'm super lonely. Like, I don't want to be doing that all the time, right? That's part of that dot. But if we have the awareness of the mask, then we have a choice. If we're going to wear that mask, are we going to shift that mask? Is that mask serving us anymore? Right? Sometimes we talk about it as a role that's ended in our life, right? Like if I was a doctor and I retired, am I still a doctor? Or I used to be a runner, but I don't run anymore. So am I still a runner? Like those parts of our identity. And then in Bina, up here on the left, we talk about our narrative, right? What's the story behind those masks? What messages were we given as children, as young women, as young humans, right? That said, well, you're the smart student, right? You're the smart one, right? So you're going to become the lawyer or the doctor, right? Or you're the caregiver, right? You're the middle child who solves all the problems between your siblings or your parents, right? So all of a sudden in dot, you see that you're the social worker or the nurse or whatever it is. So we find once we're aware of our masks, we can be more aware of our narratives, right? Of the metaphors behind our masks. And that is a certain awareness that we carry. And just bringing it back to where we started, right? We were talking about this idea of gratitude, of noticing the miracles, right? What happens if something we see like a sunrise or a sunset is just assumed versus we create the narrative of it being a miracle, that it's being miraculous? How does that shift the way that we're walking in the world? Leona, you've been very quiet today. What's coming up for you?
I've been alone. I live alone. I have now and then people come to help me clean the house, help me visit sometimes for half an hour. So it's been a whole different life for a year and a half now. And I think a mask covers up what's behind it. that's what I think the original meaning of mask was, to conceal, mask over what's there. So, I mean, I haven't thought about this much. So, and I tend not to believe in miracles. I'm sorry. I have to say.
Yeah.
I think the sun rises because that's how the planetary system is and that's how it goes around. So and I haven't been talking much at all. And what happens, my throat gets hoarse when I talk. So I tend not to even use the phone. I mostly do email so that I don't have to talk on the phone and my voice clogs up.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing. It's good to see you. Yeah, go ahead, Louise.
I think one of the most interesting things is a mask used to be a bad thing. Now, I'm not talking about if you go to a carnival or something, but a mask, a robber wore a mask.
Mm-hmm.
And then the pandemic happened and it became a good thing. And that might have been kind of the difficulty of the transition people were having. I live in a senior housing, and it is owned by people that go to the synagogue, which is right next door. I mean, I waited for this apartment. I love it. But yet the seniors here had a difficult time putting on the mask. And now that it's starting to be taken off, we still have to wear them in common areas. But people want to wear the mask more now than they did at first when it was required. So it's just, the whole thing with masks is just really strange. The way like I said, it went from being bad to good, from people not wanting to wear it because they had to people holding on to them. And they don't have
actually,
to.
It's interesting that you frame it that way, right? Because the mask itself, right, whether we're talking about the physical one or the psychological one, right, is neither innately good or bad, right? It just is. But then the narrative behind it of they're forcing me to wear it or I'm comfortable wearing it, as it shifts to becoming, this is a thing of safety and security for me, right? That we're shifting the narrative. I think at the beginning of the pandemic, we looked to countries in Asia where we saw that this was the norm, right? People wore masks all the time walking on the street. There's a whole thing in the New York Times about it, like a year before the pandemic, on the fashion statements of people's masks. And now, it's become more normative for us, right? More accepted. As an educator, we've been, like Susan and Ginny had been learning with us here in person in our offices in our school here. And now, I haven't seen them in like a year and a half in person. And the idea that we can actually be on screens together unmasked in some ways is great. Like you can actually see closer into somebody's eyes, like Rachel was saying. I mean, like Joan was saying, right? The idea that you can actually read someone's face better than if we were sitting in a classroom with fabric over our mouths. And we're just in the process of reopening, like figuring out our reopening plan. Well, we've launched our reopening plan. We're starting classes in person again this summer, and we'll have folks here in person, but also online. And we'll have some classes that are just on Zoom. I'll be keeping this on Zoom, of course. Right, but the thought is like, how do we re-enter? How do we become together again? How do we exist and drop some of our masks?
I think that for me, I know some of the poems I wrote about COVID, I did a lot of poetry, and a lot of it was about how COVID kind of made a crucible around us. So it kind of compressed whatever was going on inside, and we had to sort of just be with ourselves. And also just, I think it sort of not exacerbated, but like I said, a crucible. So like at nuclear energy where it sort of gets crunched together and then it explodes. I think a lot of people have learned more about themselves, and it also has been able to, it's a chance to sort of let go of some of those things that we didn't need, that we didn't even know we didn't need. And all this, I think somehow the separateness brought us more together and with ourselves.
Nice. Annette?
I like what everyone else said. And I suddenly thought that the word mosque and the word masach, which is in Hebrew, masecha, sound very much alike. And I was thinking to myself, how could it be that they sound so much alike? Maybe they are related in some way. But I think that our lives were mosques, and we reveal them and change them as needed, as to protect ourselves or to play the part that we are supposed to part in different, the part that we have to play in different circumstances. And I mean, sometimes I used to laugh and used to say to my kids, I'm putting my mask on, and that means I'm putting a bit of makeup on and I'm going out. So I think that in many ways, having the mask on in public has made life very easy, because you didn't have to reveal as much of yourself if you didn't want to. You were behind something all the time, behind that curtain. And it also made everyone in a way equal, because everyone was wearing masks. You couldn't see anyone with their real face on. So in a way, it made the connections, but it was like we were touching each other and not touching each other at the same time. If you know what I mean? It was like people, like balls in a big basket that someone is just shoving them around, and they're touching and going away and touching and going away. Nothing seemed real during this 1.5 years. I mean, even on Zoom, I have been on many Zooms. I have been constantly with the same people sometimes for many, many months. And I didn't feel, and I don't feel now, more connected to them than I felt at the beginning. It didn't, so it's weird, but it's like this whole time was a timeout of real time.
Yeah. And can you explain more about masach and masecha? What does that mean in Hebrew?
Masecha is a mosque.
Oh, so it is.
It is. And a mosque and masecha sound like it's got the same letters in it, the same sound. So I mean, it's completely different languages, but maybe there might be an influence. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And
right. And also like masquerade.
Yeah.
Right. And if you think about, when we're putting on our masks for Purim or for Halloween, right? Sometimes we're choosing a mask of something that we want, right? Like, I want to be a princess. I want to be a gorilla, right? Like all the things that we want to play out, right? An aspect of ourself. Yeah. And what about this idea of masks being an equalizer? I know I saw that resonated for Jen. Daphne?
I've had a very different experience with the masks than I'm hearing. I'm an extrovert, total extrovert. And at first I was worried that the mask was going to just like cramp my style, because I'm very expressive, and like everywhere I go, like, I mean, I'm used to everyone flirting with me everywhere I go. I'm like, this is going to cramp my style. But you know what I discovered? Not at all. So you wear the right kind of mask. It tells who you are. And my personality came through. Nothing changed. Nothing. Like everyone, personality was still on point. Everyone was still getting it. They were seeing the expressions in my eyes and my cheeks moving. Everyone was still flirting with me. Nothing changed. So my concerns were wiped out by experience when I found out it absolutely doesn't matter what I have on my face. I am who I am, and it always shows through no matter what I've got on. So for me, that was affirming for me. It was a nice thing to learn about myself, that because I'm someone who frustrates a lot of people because I'm so honest and I rip masks off all the time. And like my first career, I was a Holocaust restitution specialist. You know, I'm an advocate. This is the kind of stuff I do. And I have found an incredible learning experience about myself wearing these masks, and that it has literally had zero impact on my life and my ability to have an impact on the world in my advocacy work, communicating with people, all of that. So I've had a very different experience. Now, here's something I've gotten very, very close with Zoom friends, and try this with the people you hang out with on Zoom. It's the weirdest experience. We're asking everyone how tall they are.
Right.
We have no idea. And we started asking all our friends, like, okay, you're my best friend. I know your deepest secrets. Do you even have legs? I mean, I don't know. How tall are you? And so it's been very strange, and kind of we're asking everyone how tall they are, and we're like, it's making everyone more real. It's interesting. So try that.
Yeah, it's funny actually. I had one of our board members who I hadn't seen for a very long time pick something up at my house. I'm like, you're so much taller than I remember. Right? You just, and I have some folks, some of the people on our board that haven't even met each other yet in person because they joined last summer. So we're having our first get together next week. It'll be exciting. All right, so we've journeyed quite a bit today. We were talking about miracles and gratitude and masks. And there are 16 of us on the call. What I want to do is just spend 2 minutes just in a breakout. We'll set up 4 rooms. And just when you see the computer say to you, do you accept being put into this room? Like, just say yes. So you'll end up in a room. And I'm going to pose a question to you. About our masks, right? What are we grateful to for our masks, and grateful about removing our masks? And they could be figurative or literal. Okay. What are you grateful to for putting on your masks? And what are you grateful to for removing your masks? And I'm going to split you into 4 rooms, and I'll stay in the host room if you have any problems. Okay. Just join the room that you're invited to. All right, you're doing it. Good job. Tommy and Raquel, do you see how to do it? There you go.
Do we need to push, Joy?
Yeah, yeah, just accept it. Leona, are you able to do it?
be back.
All right, so I'm glad you guys, how did that feel to you?
Okay.
Good.
Nice to have conversations, a little smaller group.
Something I brought up is that when you finally take off your mask, like when I finally came out as a non-binary, I was like, oh my gosh, the amount of energy and stress that I put in wearing that mask and pretending to be something I wasn't, it was causing medical problems. And I literally got physically better, like in certain areas after I just ripped it off and said, I couldn't, it just takes too much work to wear that.
Yeah, thank you. Great. Well, thank you all so much for being here today, for joining the conversation. I look forward to continue talking. Today is June 3rd. We'll meet again on June 10th. And every Thursday at 2 o'clock Mountain Time.
4 o'clock Eastern.